spoilers, they be about the place. What would happen if we took Enter the Dragon, a fuck ton of multicolored ninjas, and threw in a spot of Jean-Claude Van Damme and got them all to do a fusion dance? Well, you end up with the 1992 Mortal Kombat video game, which was such a hit it had kids running through the feckin' streets shouting its name. The franchise will go on to have 11 main series games and a ton of terrible spin-off games over the years. It's become a cornerstone of the fighting game genre and is one of the most beloved games ever for its interesting characters, over-the-top violence and fun combat. And with it being a massive hit, you can bet your bottom dollar that Hollywood came a-calling, looking to make a movie film based off the original game. And in 1995, that's exactly what we got when the Paul W.S. Anderson directed adaptation came out. That's the shit Paul Anderson, by the way, not the other sound lad that makes good movie films. And with the film being such a hit at the time, it would lead to Anderson shitting all over two other popular video game franchises in the years that followed. But it's his first step into the world of video game adaptations that we are here to see and to find out if it still holds up all these years later. But before you sit back, relax and horse your favorite snack into yourself, how about you hit that like button and throw us a sub as we journey back to 1995 and find out if Mortal Kombat was a flawless victory or not. So let's start by recapping the movie film. The movie film begins with the final round of the previous Mortal Kombat tournament, where we see Shang Tsung kicking the absolute shite out of this young lad. Yeah, so we aren't off to a great start with the fights, as that was kinda pathetic and just a standard squash match. Luckily for us, Kerry Takawa saves it with his scenery chewing post-match promo.
Your brother's soul is mine. You will be next.
Fuck, that was spooky. But luckily, it was only a dream that Liu Kang, who was played by Robin Shaw, was having. Although we do learn from this straight to the point facts that his brother is seriously #dushed. But there's no time to think on that as we cut to Hong Kong, where badass cop Sonya Blade, played by Bridget Wilson, is on the hunt for Aussie cyborg Kano, who appears to be besties with that devil Shang Tsung. Sonya starts busting some serious moves on the dance floor before shooting the crap out of this lad. Wait a minute, that lad just shot right into that crowd and nobody is reacting at all. I guess they're probably all yoked out of it anyway. Luckily for Sonya, dushed men don't tell lies, so she asks this lad where Kano is. But forget about all that because it's time for another character introduction. This time it's Johnny Cage's turn. Cage here is played by Lyndon Ashby and he's about to wreck some fools' heads.
This is where you fall down. Where do you get these guys?
I'm pretty sure that lad went to Dave Bautista's acting class.
The world's strongest man!
So Johnny Boy here is a big shot Hollywood action star, but no one believes he is actually as good a fighter as he says he is. But luckily for Johnny, his old mentor shows up with an invitation to the Mortal Kombat tournament, where Johnny will be able to prove to the world that he's fucking class. But fuck, it turns out that his mentor was Shang Tsung all along. That lad is getting up to all sorts of devilment. Meanwhile, across the world in Thailand, Liu Kang is demanding he be allowed to enter the tournament on behalf of the Shaolin monks, even though he's being a sarcastic brat, saying that you can't save the world by busting some heads in. But then one of the lads from Big Trouble in Little Chinatown shows up to put Liu Kang in his place. Fucking hell lads, 'tis the Highlander himself, Christopher Lambo! Lambo is playing Lord Raiden, the God of Thunder. Although Liu Kang calls bullshit on that, and then he decides to have a go at Raiden. That'll teach ya, don't fuck with the Lambo. Even after getting bushed, Liu Kang is still like, feck all of ye, I'm off to bush the face off everyone in the tournament and show all of ye that I'm the big man about the town. So on a dark misty night, our three heroes board one badass looking boat on their way to the Mortal Kombat tournament. While on board they meet Shang Tsung and his two badass henchmen, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who like typical bad guys are way more badass than our heroes, who quickly get bushed by Raiden and his thunder powers. Way to make your big bads look kinda weak as piss. Not wanting to pick a fight with Raiden, Shang Tsung says fuck this and runs away with his tail between his legs. So you know what that means, it's time for Raiden to give us an exposition dump.
You have been chosen to defend the realm of Earth in a tournament called Mortal Kombat.
Hold it!
I've got it from here, Raiden, I'll explain the rest. So you see lads, there's this place called Outworld, which is another realm to our one and is a bit of a kip and full of all sorts of shady boys. Picture it like a mix of the feckin' Burn and Dublin City, but with less shirtless scumbags fighting over a kebab. But there is one shirtless man to rule them all, and that's the big bad booty daddy himself, Shao Kahn. Look at him there, the absolute fucking unit. So Shao Kahn is the type of lad that shows up to a house party that knows no one there, yet he still manages to wreck the fucking place. And that's exactly what he wants to do with Earth. But in order for him to be allowed to get to Earth, his team has to win 9 straight Mortal Kombat tournaments in a row. And as we've seen from the start of the film, Earth has been doing a pretty shite job of stopping that, and the bad lads are one tournament away from winning the big one. But luckily for us, Raiden thinks that one of these daft asses will win it for us.
The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
So it's off to the UFC Fight Island, where our gang climbs a fuck ton of stairs. That would be me done and dusted. No way would I fucking fight anyone after climbing that fucking stairs. When they get to the top, Liu Kang spots this bureau and is like, Jesus Christ, would you look at that one? How are you fixed? Who are you? Shang Tsung shows up and commands Gex here to keep an eye on Katana, even though she's like 2 feet away and can clearly hear what he's saying to this fucking thing. Also lads, I know CGI was a new thing at the time, but Jesus, the state of Reptile here. A while later, our gang decide to wander about the place and end up finding Kano horshing some chicken into himself while having a chat with this absolute beast called Goro. Goro here is such a fucking unit, he thinks he's some sort of big man no shoes and can bait anyone. But Shang Tsung shows up and tells him would he feckin' behave himself and stop being a cocky bastard, as Liu Kang might be able to bust him. After hearing enough, the gang decide to get the feck out of there, but after fumbling their way around the place and running into Reptile for a bit, these feckin' Egypts somehow manage to do a circle and end up back at the dinner table, where a bunch of random lads come in looking for a fight. And that's the cue for the greatest song in action film history. This fight is good crack as our 3 heroes get to show off some skills while busting some heads while a banger plays in the background. Cheesy action at its best. Even Raiden seems to think it was a good one, although there are still like 50 lads here ready to bust the lot of them, but Raiden being the fucking badass he is puts a stop to that. Fuck this lads, that lad had electric come out of his fucking fingers. The next day, the tournament finally gets underway and Liu Kang has a pretty good shtick fight with this lad. They do all sorts of flippy twirly shit that pops the crowd. But the booking of the match is pretty weak as Liu ends up winning with a feckin' dropkick. Come on, that's a weak finish. Having lost the match, Shang Tsung decides he'll be having that lad's soul for dinner. Did I forget to mention that Shang Tsung is like a soul-sucking sorcerer who can do all kinds of daft magic? Well, I guess you're up to speed now.
Fatality.
What? Who would say that after a fight? What a fucking weirdo. Well, up next is the Mortal Kombat porno round.
I have something for you, my dear.
I don't want anything from you.
On the contrary, I have something you want very much. You can thank me later.
The Mortal Kombat tournament, sponsored by Pornhub. Enter the code COMALITY to get 50% off during the tournament. Kano is here to fix Sonya's pipes, but she wants none of that, so she busts the face off him. And that horny devil Shang Tsung watches as Sonya wraps her legs around Kano and makes him #dushed.
Oh, give me a break.
Okay.
Now we're getting to the good stuff as Johnny is out for a bit of a stroll in the woods when he comes across Scorpion, who is aggressively asking Johnny does he want to call round to the house for a fight.
Get over here!
After getting his weird hand thingy dusted, Scorpion does manage to get Johnny back to visit him in hell. He's also really happy to see that Johnny's here at the gaff.
Welcome!
So he greets him with his fists and feet, and the two of them start kicking the shite out of each other. This fight is actually a lot of crack because it does involve some fun moves, a lot of flippy shit, and Scorpion just kicking the shit out of the cameraman. And it actually ends up having a pretty solid finish, as Scorpion uses his fatality from the video game, right before Johnny goes all Captain America on him and slices his feckin' head open with the shield, which then causes Scorpion to fucking explode. Fucking boom! The best fight in the film so far, I give it 3.5 stars. Next up, Liu Kang has to face off against Glacier from WCW. Haha, he doesn't stand a chance against this badass. Well, this fight with Sub-Zero is okay, nothing amazing or anything, but it does lead to Subby getting himself ready to shoot his fucking load at Liu Kang. And Katana shows up just in time to see the money shot.
Use the element which brings life.
What the fuck was that? Since when the fuck is she telepathic? Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, that bit of on-the-nose info leads Liu Kang to copping on how to beat Sub-Zero. So he just spins this feckin' bucket of water around a few times and chucks it at Sub-Zero's feckin' head. Okay, I will say, that was a pretty cool kill. With the bad lads doing absolutely shocking altogether in the tournament, Shang Tsung thinks it's time to bring in the big guns.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beast, the Conqueror, Barack Lesnar!
The Beast is here to fight everyone's favourite Mortal Kombat character, Art Lean. Who the fuck is that? Well, it doesn't really fucking matter who that is, as Goro just baits the unholy fuck out of Art. Art does try to fight back a little, but it looks like it's game over for this lad.
Get out! Finish him!
Flawless victory.
Hold on a second, you have to not get hit to get a flawless victory, and Art got a solid fucking hit in there. Let's pull up the replay to be sure. I feckin' knew it. He did get a hit in. As you can see here from our Zack Snyder cam, you can clearly see Art connected with the kick. Therefore, this was not a flawless victory. So Shang Tsung, you were talking out of your arse, and I believe Art deserves a rematch. Ah, for feck's sake, he's only gone and taken Art's soul. Well, that's him done and dusted, so let's move on. Now, with their bestie Art dushed, our main characters begin to question themselves. And Sonya and Johnny have a heart-to-heart.
Because I can't let what happened to Art happen to you. Not to you.
Ye have had like 2 interactions the whole movie film. Well, Johnny goes and tells Shang Tsung that he's going to bush the face off Goro and there'll be no stopping him. So of course Shang Tsung accepts his challenge. So the match is set, and tonight on Raw it's Hollywood Johnny Cage versus the Beige Goro in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Johnny comes into the match like Bret feckin' Hart, but Goro starts the fight off with a dick move by crushing Johnny's shades. But then Cage shows him what a real dick move looks like. Oh, right in the fucking bollocks. And like any true hero who has just punched a lad in the balls, Cage just feckin' legs it away. Only to have that dope Goro follow him. And you know what ends up happening? Johnny knocks this fool right off a cliff. I give the match 1 star for the nut punch. The rest of the in-ring work was sloppy as fuck, and Goro shouldn't have put Cage over. With his beige dush, Shang Tsung has been a right sore loser, so he grabs Sonya and says, "Good luck lads, I'm off to Outworld to bush the face off her." And Raiden, being the useless shite that he is, doesn't do a thing to help Sonya. And this being the 90s, he believes that a woman doesn't stand a chance against Shang Tsung.
Can Sonya beat Shang Tsung?
No. I'm sorry. There is one last rule. He neglected to mention it.
She has to accept the challenge, or there can be no final combat.
I have nothing further to teach you, Liu Kang.
What the fuck has this lad taught anyone during the whole movie? He's been doing fuck all this whole time. Anyway, the lads head off into the portal to save Sonya, and even though her life is in danger, the fucking pair of them take their sweet ass time trying to get to her. But they do end up bumping into Reptile, who Liu Kang rips right out of the wall, and then he just throws him into this weird looking statue thingy, who then transforms into a ninja. Why the hell wasn't he just the ninja the whole time? Those lads are known for sneaking around the place. Ah, but fuck it, because it leads into the best fight in the whole film. They batter the fuck out of each other in this one. It's actually set to a nice fight scene music, and it's well choreographed, and it even lets us see Liu Kang use one of his daft attacks from the video game. If you're actually going to ever watch any fight scene from this movie film, I recommend this one. It's easily the best fight in the whole film, and it ends with Reptile just spinning about the place. This is fucking ridiculous, but also kind of amazing. And then he ends up #dushed. And wouldn't you know it, Katana once again just pops up out of nowhere to do absolutely nothing, as we head off to Shang Tsung's sex dungeon where he's keeping Sonya hostage. Himself and his weird sex cult are looking for an orgy, but Sonya doesn't want any of that.
I'm not playing your game.
So Shang Tsung says, "Fuck it, I'm the big man, I win the tournament because there's no one else here to challenge me."
My friends will come.
They're already here.
Really? That's how they get into the tower? You couldn't have had a cool action scene of them running up the tower fighting lads, just kinda as a reference to the towers in the video game? And giving Katana a cool moment where she busts some heads with her fans? No? Just the lads are here ready to save Sonya? Alright, bit underwhelming, we'll go with it. So Shang Tsung and Liu Kang get it on in the sex dungeon. I mean, they have a fight. They have a fight, you dirty-minded bastards. Seriously, that song is a
Stone cold bangers, man.
Unfortunately, after this, the fight kinda goes downhill as Shang Tsung uses his powers to bring a bunch of burly lads back to life, who Liu Kang just baits the head off pretty easily. But Shang Tsung, being the king of the castle, starts to taunt Liu Kang, who just legs it up the stairs after him, and that's when the dumbest fucking moment of this whole film happens.
Liu.
Chan. It can't be you.
What? You just seen that lad turn into your brother, like right in front of you. That is clearly not your brother. Oh, for fuck's Jesus Christ, no wonder we fucking lose these tournaments all the time. Well, fucking thankfully, he ends up snapping out of it, and then busts the face off Shang Tsung before knocking him right off the ledge down into some spikes. Hashtag just.
Flawless victory.
That's it, I'm fucking done. No one fucking knows what flawless fucking victory means in this fucking film. Well, with the tournament done and dusted, they meet up with Raiden and celebrate the good lads winning. That is until a fucking emperor shows up and says he's gonna bust the lot of them to end the movie film.
Weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
Well, with the film now dushed, let's move on to the review. Mortal Kombat was a film that I seen as a kid, so I do have a lot of nostalgia for it. But that nostalgia has kind of faded a bit the more I've seen the film over the years. The last time I seen it was in a packed midnight screening where everyone knew exactly what they were in for and were having a blast with it. And I think that probably is the best way to watch this film, but let's go through the good and the bad of this movie film and determine if it's still worth a watch today. So let's take a look at the good aspects of this film. I have to say that some of the fight scenes are pretty good. The reptile fight for sure stands out as the best choreographed and shot fight in the whole film, along with the Cage versus Scorpion fight, which also has a nice visual touch to it. There are a handful of other decent fights in it as well, so on the action front it does okay. I also do like the cast in this, as for the most part they are pretty well suited to their characters. Robin Shaw does a great job as Liu Kang, and Kerry is great as he chews up any scenery he can get his hands on. Even Christopher Lambert is pretty good, even if he is totally out of the place here, as the man's performance is so fucking weird that it works for him. Kinda like in another cult film that he is known for. Also, for one of the first video game movies, it actually is a pretty faithful adaptation, and it has some nice attention to detail in the costuming, like when Sub-Zero goes to use his powers, his mask actually freezes. And I have to commend them for trying to do Goro practically, as at times it does look pretty good, and it was a nice attempt. And sure, this film looks kinda cheap now, but for 1995, it was pretty close to what we had in the games. But we all know the number one positive for this film, and the thing that it's most remembered for is its unreal soundtrack. Mostly the main theme, which is a fucking banger. If you threw that on in a club, everyone would either be busting some serious moves or busting some heads in. Either way, the place would be fucking bopping. Well, that's all the positives out the way, so let's move on to the bad. So yeah, Mortal Kombat is kinda known for stuff like this. And we get none of that. Like, I'm pretty sure the only drop of blood we even get in the whole film is when Shang Tsung gets his lip bust open. How could you have a Mortal Kombat film without the gore? I know in my positives that I said the practical effects and costuming was good, but the same can't be said for the truly awful CGI used in this film. Even for 1995, this looks terrible. This film is a prime example of filmmakers in the 90s not knowing when to not use CGI, and it really dates the film. And while I said I enjoyed the casting in the film, I do have to say that Bridget Wilson is wooden as fuck in her role of Sonya, and her character is given nothing to do once Kano is dead. Like seriously, she doesn't even get to have another fight and gets kidnapped by Shang Tsung. Surely having her break out and fight Shang Tsung until Liu Kang and the boys arrived would have been better. And they could have given Katana something to do. She's a pretty badass character in the games, but here she is just made to be eye candy. She doesn't even get to use her fan blades at any point. I'm also not a big fan of the sequel bait ending, as it doesn't make sense with the overall story. If this lad could just show up in the feckin' sky anytime he wanted, then why did he have to win 10 tournaments? Surely after the third one he'd be like, ah fuck this, I'm just invading and busting heads already. Well, with all that being said, I can say that the good aspects of this film do outweigh the bad, even if they are being heavily supported by my nostalgia for it. It is a straightforward fun film that is at oftentimes messy and directionless, but it all kinda comes together to give you a film that is enjoyable to watch on a lazy Sunday or with a couple of friends one night to have a laugh with. So Mortal Kombat gets a 6 out of 10, cause it's a bit of crack. Well, that wraps up this review, but let me know down in the comments below what you think of Mortal Kombat. Is it still one of the best video game adaptations of all time, or should it have been finished off long ago? Cheers for checking out the review, and if you haven't seen any of the others, hit the links on screen now, and I'll see you next time when we horsh into another movie film.